Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Well, did you know that 1 in 4 kids in Los Angeles County struggles with hunger? Eating healthy, balanced meals is essential for kids to learn and grow. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Common Threads have teamed up to help schools across the country learn about healthier food preparation. Here in Los Angeles, they're joined by the LA Sparks and will provide education, recipes, and knowledge to students and families about healthier meal options. Visit anthem.com/ca/sparks to learn more. Anthem Blue Cross is the trade name of Blue Cross of California.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hi guys, it's me, your girl, Elena.
And your boy, Adam.
And you're listening to I've Been Thinking. So today, another October spooky episode. We are going to be telling you ghost stories. I think it's mostly going to be me reading them to Adam, and then him reacting, because really, that's going to be really funny.
That's all I'm qualified to do.
That's absolutely not true. And at the end, I'm going to tell you all 1 or 2 of my own scary stories. Do you want to tell one of your ghost stories too, Adam?
I don't have any because I don't believe in them.
Okay. So, anyway, moving on from that. I got all of these stories that I'm going to read off Reddit, okay? And so when I post the blog post, which I'll tell you more about at the end of this episode, when I post the blog post about this, I will include the links to all of those original posts in that. So anyway, let's get started. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. This one says, a few years back, my grandmother passed away. A month after she passed, we were all sitting in the kitchen reminiscing about the days when she was still around. My mom used to call my grandma every night to talk about how things are going back home. We live in Australia, but my grandma was back home in Papua New Guinea. If for some reason my mom didn't call her, my grandma would always call at night to make sure she was okay. Sounds a lot like my mom and my mom, honestly. Long story short, our conversation just evolved into one of those what if kind of conversations. Like, what if they'd be able to call from the afterlife? It sounds dumb when I type this out now, but we were in a weird headspace morning at the time. Almost on cue after I said that, my mom's phone started ringing. Incoming call from Mom. The contact photo of my grandma was now ringing on the screen. We both kind of just froze while staring at the phone, and after about 10 seconds, my mom answered the call. Nothing but static. Even weirder is that Mom was in possession of my grandma's phone at the time. It was put away in a box that contained a few of my grandma's items at the top of a bookshelf in her room. The phone was dead, no charge whatsoever. The same thing happened an exact year after her death, the same day that she died. Well, that's a little redundant. There were a few other small things that happened, but nothing as concrete as this.
All I gotta say is, who the hell is charging that phone in order for the call to be made?
Well, clearly nobody. It wasn't charged, so obviously it was Grandma calling from beyond the grave, Adam.
It's fake news.
Okay, next one. Adam didn't believe the last one at all. So stop reading ahead. That takes away you reacting in real time.
Sorry.
One night when I was around 14, I went down to the kitchen, and as I passed by the living room, I saw the black silhouette of a man, probably around 6'7", sitting on one of the couches. What'd you say?
I said it's pretty tall.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He was following me with his eyesight while smiling. You couldn't distinguish much more of his other features apart from those. I obviously freaked out and ran out of there. Then a few months later, my mom came to my room completely terrified, saying she had seen someone staring at her when she was coming up the stairs. She started describing the person, and it turns out it was the exact same silhouette I had seen, only this time he was standing. Funny thing is, I never told anybody about my experience, so you can imagine how I felt when I heard my mom's account.
What do? Just get scared and then just talk about it and be like, that's it. It's over with.
What do you mean?
Well, they don't go down there and like, who the hell's in my house?
No, Adam, not everybody is like us, and when they hear something, they want to go poke the ceiling like we do. We thought somebody was in the attic. Well, I thought somebody was in the attic the other day, and
Turns out it's just wind and paranoia.
Whatever, it sounded like a person. Okay, next. So my spouse and I moved into a new apartment, and we got my spouse's grandma's couch. Relatable. We put a cover over it and placed it in the corner. We invited some friends over for drinks, and one guy fell asleep on our couch with his head slightly tilted over. A few weeks later, I was walking to the kitchen, and I saw an old man in the corner of my eye sitting on the couch with his head tilted. I turned my head in shock, and he was gone. That weekend, a friend came over to hang out. My friend looked over at our couch and shared with me that she felt a dark energy there, and she saw something sitting on the couch in the corner of her eye. I looked at her terrified, and I said, "What does it look like?" And she said, "An old man." My spouse walked in the room and said, "Are y'all talking about the old man on the couch?" Adam, that's you. That's how you would act.
No, I'd be freaked out.
But you don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah, because I've never had an encounter. I'm sure if there was something a little bit weird, I'd be talking about it.
That's fair. I can't describe how scary it was to get confirmation from 2 other people. Then, at the end of the year, we were all at a New Year's Eve party, and the guy who had fallen asleep on the couch months before showed up. After a few drinks, we started talking about the old man, and the guy who fell asleep looked at us with a fear and panic in his eyes, and he told us about how this old man has haunted him in his dreams since his teenage years. So, he haunted your couch, sis.
That's why you don't buy old furniture that has not been tested.
I think that the guy brought the ghost, Adam, not the couch brought the ghost. The couch was probably just ripe for haunting.
This seems highly coincidental that an old person owned it prior.
I mean, that's fair. Could be
Old
some-
people bring bad juju.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can. Okay, next one.
Well, and all that furniture. I mean, you're just buying someone's farts at that point.
Gross. As a teenager, I used to have to wake myself in the middle of the night semi-frequently to check blood sugar. One night after midnight, as I was walking back to my room, in the hallway mirror, I saw a pair of hands that were not mine reaching for me in the mirror. It scared the ever-living piss out of me, and I sprinted to bed as fast as I could. I begged my parents to get rid of the mirror, but they insisted I'd grow out of it. I saw those same hands reaching for me when I was a child, and we lived in a different town. I've seen them several times since, always reaching for me from a mirror. I've woken up drenched in sweat and terrified at 3 a.m. a few other times. 3 a.m.'s the witching hour. That's when
The aliens come.
the veil is the thinnest on the daily.
What veil?
The veil between worlds, Adam.
Okay.
I close all the bathroom doors so that no mirror is exposed overnight, and that seems to be the best defense. I've no idea what would happen if they actually touched me. Can you imagine? That's some Haunting of Hill House Bly Manor shit. That's, yeah.
I was trying to figure out, like, how that would look if I walked in my bathroom and the hands were coming at me, like, coming from, like, beneath, or, like, what's going on?
Well, I feel like your mirror is not a good one to think about. Like the mirror in the living room that's smaller and has a front, that would, visually, that makes more sense to me.
Honestly, I don't like mirrors when it's dark.
Mirrors are portals.
No, they're not portals. You just convince yourself.
They can be. Adam, you have had a paranormal experience.
What?
We'll talk about it at the end. Okay, this one is our last Reddit story, and then we're going to talk about our stories.
I didn't know I had one. but
Yeah, you did.
proceed.
Okay. I'm from Edinburgh, and my friend at the time was a total gym fitness freak and convinced me one day to go to the gym with him. This must have been around 2008, maybe 2009, so we would have been roughly 15 or 16 at the time. It was in an area called Portobello, a wee bit out from City Center. The place looked like it could have been an old school many years before it was used as a gym. It had the usual things you'd expect in a gym. I remember swimming most of the time as I really had no time for weights, etc. You have time to swim, but no time for weights?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand that
No.
when I was reading ahead.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. Swimming takes longer, and you gotta get wet. Anyways, after he'd done what he needed to do, we met back up to head for the changing room. We were sat opposite each other, just chatting away about plans for the weekend and gigs we had coming up. I'd gotten changed and sat down again with my bag by my side, and we continued chatting while I was putting my swim shorts in my bag, and I heard a massive scream. And as I looked up in his direction, across from me, I saw a horrible looking face of a woman appear right next to his head and then disappear. I completely shit myself, and my friend went completely white in the face. Neither of us said a word until we left the building when I asked if he heard the scream too. Not only did he hear the scream, he said he felt two hands grab his shoulder tightly. He lifted his shirt and he had two claw-like marks on his shoulder. It was absolutely terrifying, and it was horrible writing this.
I'm still a skeptic.
Okay, so even after all of this, Adam is still skeptical.
I would need to experience it.
Adam is
And
logical.
if it just happened to you, I'm not going to believe you.
You don't believe anything I say.
Well,
He's skeptical to a fault. He's like logical to a fault.
how dare I think about things prior to
You
doing
can think about things. Anyway, enough of us bickering. So, Adam, we experienced a paranormal experience together.
it. What?
So I was house sitting for my parents' friends, and I have been convinced for a while. I've house sat for them for like 5 years at least. I mean, dozens of times. And after my Aunt Amy, after her mother passed away, the house just like hasn't felt the same. And they brought a lot of her mother's antiques and stuff from her house to their house, right? So there was all this new stuff, especially for a while. And so it just always felt different after she died. And it's a big house, so it's easy to feel kind of creeped out in there. But I'm pretty used to it. I've got a routine. I've got ways I do things. You know, there's an alarm, all that stuff. But so one night, this was a few years ago when I was in college. I think this was like 3 years ago. So it was my senior year in college. I was house sitting, and I was sitting on the couch with the dogs, and I was FaceTiming my parents. And my mom said, "Oh, do you have somebody over there staying with you?" And I was like, "No." And they said, "Well, then who just walked by upstairs on the landing?" And I was like, "Don't fuck with me."
Well, that's some bullshit your mom would pull just to
No,
scare you.
my dad was there too, Adam, and he looked like I have rarely rather seen him look that concerned. He was very genuinely concerned. And he was like, "Go do a sweep upstairs right now." So I went, I checked everything. There's nobody there.
Bring your broom.
Yeah, I brought my broom for my sweep. There was nobody there. And they were like, "Oh, it must have just been like a weird shadow from a car driving by or something, whatever." No, they totally saw a shadow person upstairs. So I've always, ever since then, I've been super extra careful, a little bit on edge in the house. But a while, I guess it was like last year in the fall, I think. So about a year ago, Adam was staying with me one weekend when I was house sitting for them. And they gave me explicit permission that he could be there, or else he wouldn't have been. But
I'm glad you told everyone that, as it's necessary.
well, it is necessary because I feel like that's important. Anyway, so it's the middle of the night and we're in bed asleep, and I heard the most god awful sound of glass crashing. Like, it sounded like the big bay window had been broken.
There was no glass.
There was no glass breaking, Adam, but that's what I heard. That's what woke me up. I'll never forget it. It was the most awful noise in the whole entire world. It sounded like the bay window had been broken open.
It's a bay window.
The one in the kitchen that goes like that. Yeah. So I jump up. Adam jumps up because he heard it too. And we're looking around trying to figure out what's wrong. We go all over. There's nothing broken. And then we realize that the mirror that was hanging on the wall in the bedroom had fallen behind the dresser, and that's what the awful noise was. And so he picks it up, and it's not broken at all. So tell me where that horrible noise came from. I don't know, but I couldn't go back to sleep. That was one of the worst nights of my life, I would
went
say.
Straight to sleep.
You did. Adam went straight to sleep after saying, "They say mirrors are portals." And then he went to sleep because he's a bastard. But that was awful. And when I told them that, when I told my Aunt Amy and Uncle Steve that, they said, "Well, we didn't really believe you before that you thought it was haunted, but now you say that, and that kind of sounds like it might be." And they're a family of 4. All the kids, they have 2 kids, 2 girls that still live at home. They've always had a dog and a cat. They've got a lot going on in that house, so it makes sense that they wouldn't hear or notice anything.
Or
What?
it makes sense that some scared little girl at night sees things in the dark.
I was with my big strong man. Why would I see things?
Because you still convince yourself. Spirits.
Adam, get off my back. So, anyway, I think that their house is haunted. And that was your paranormal experience, Adam. And
Pretty sure just old furniture and a heavy mirror being mounted to the back of a dresser will eventually fail.
my mom said that she thought it makes sense if grandma is the one that's there, that grandma would be mad about 2 unmarried young people in the bed together.
Maybe she was trying to come through the mirror and it was closed and she just hit her face on it and it fell.
I mean, maybe.
Fuck you, Grandma.
I don't
That's what you get. I come through the damn furniture.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the time in college that a ghost talked to me that I've tried to forget. Okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, our sophomore year of college, Allison and I were roommates, of course. And one night we were sitting in our rooms. We were each on our respective bed. And we had two friends in there too. Our friend Sarah was sitting in the floor on the carpet. And
On the floor.
on the floor, in the floor. What's a major point of contention between the two of us? So our friend Sarah was sitting in the floor on the carpet, and we're just like talking. And then our friend Sylvie was over in the corner at one of our desks with her headphones in, working on homework. Sylvie was like oblivious to anything anyways, but it is important that she had her headphones in, okay? So she's there, headphones, Sarah's sitting in the floor, we're all talking. All of a sudden, from the space in between mine and Allison's beds, all of a sudden, we hear a gravelly man's voice that says, "Help me, help me."
That sounds gross.
Yeah, it sounded gross, Adam. It sounded like it was coming from the friggin' pits of hell. And so, of course, we all looked at each other because the three of us heard it. Sylvie, like I said, completely oblivious in the corner. But me, Allison, and Sarah all heard it. And Allison is just as, what's the word? Skeptical. Allison's just as skeptical as Adam is. She did not believe it. The first thing she did, because I screamed and then I started sobbing because it scared me so bad. She got up and she threw a blanket over my head. So I was just this little mass sitting on the bed with a blanket over my head, crying.
Why is that what she did?
I don't know why she threw a blanket over my head. I have no idea. But then Sarah said, "Did you all hear that?" And that was when I started crying. And Allison threw the blanket over me. She got up. She went into the hallway. She looked out the window. She looked under all our beds. She made sure there was nobody in there. None of our friends were in there playing a trick on us.
Bluetooth speaker.
No, Adam, there was nothing there out of place. So we still don't know what that was, but I can tell you that building that we lived in, it's demolished now, RIP to Forer Hall, but it was haunted. Like, I've had other experiences there too, but that was wild. And that there had been so many times in that room where I swear to you, and I never told anybody this, so it wasn't like somebody knew that I thought the room was haunted, but I swear to you, I saw like a black shadow on the ceiling many different times, okay? And then that happened in there. Well, later, I remembered, and I talked to my friend that had lived there the year before. This was like one of those dorm rooms that would kind of get passed down from friend to friend because it was like a really convenient location. It was a really good room.
Except it's haunted.
Except it's haunted, yeah. So my friend that had lived there the year before, Molly, she told me when I said I'm living in your room now, or like when we talked about it, she told me, she was like, "Elena, this room is haunted and you're gonna be scared." And I was like, "Molly, stop trying to scare me," because Molly was always playing tricks on me and like trying to freak me out.
She got in your head.
No, Adam, she was being for real and I didn't listen to her. And she told me about all these times where she woke up and like the door had opened itself and was just sitting open in the middle of the night, and she didn't have a roommate. And, you know, just like weird things like that. And that door also didn't stand open on its own. So it's weird that it would just like be open. But we talked after the fact and she was like, "Elena, I told you that room is for real haunted." And I was like, "I really thought you were just trying to mess with me. But turns out, Molly, you were right. But yeah, Allison doesn't like to admit it either, but she thinks there really was something there. Yeah. That building was really haunted. Well, and Transy was a Civil War hospital, amongst many other things, but it's a Civil War hospital, so, you know.
Doesn't help that they have graves.
Yeah, and we have 2 people buried on the campus, entombed on the campus.
That we know of.
That we know of, yeah. So, yeah, that doesn't help either. There were all kinds of ghost stories at Transy. Maybe I'll have to have one of my friends from school on one day and we can talk about those later. I don't know. Well, what do you think about that?
Bunch of people wanting attention.
Okay, frick off, Adam. All right. Well, I hope that you all have enjoyed listening to us be goobers and tell ghost stories. I hope that it freaked you out a little bit and made you laugh. So next week, I have another really good episode coming for you that I'm really excited about. But in the meantime, make sure that you subscribe to us wherever you listen. Go check out Patreon and think about subscribing there where you can get extra content. Follow on Instagram at I've Been Thinking and Twitter at Been Thinking Pod. Instagram is I've Been Thinking Pod and Twitter is Been Thinking Pod. Yeah. And go check out our brand new website that just launched last week. It's a huge deal. I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited about expanding this project into a blog as well as the podcast. And the blog was very much inspired by a friend of mine who's hearing impaired who asked, can we get transcripts or something? So what I'm doing is I'm giving you all show notes and things like that, typing out something to go along with every episode, and then also providing you with the sources. So that way everybody has access to what's being said here. You like that?
Love it.
Love it. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk at you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
This holiday season, your gift could change lives. Youth facing homelessness turn to Covenant House to overcome heartbreaking challenges. They arrive with dreams that have been disrupted. They arrive looking for a warm meal, a safe place to sleep, and the opportunity to transform their lives. For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis by giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life. This holiday season, give a gift that changes the lives of youth facing homelessness. Go to covenanthouse.org to give today.